Hello everyone. It is Thursday afternoon and I actually got to stay on schedule to be here at 3. So hopefully you all will find me. If you don't find me live, you can always catch this later here on YouTube or here on Facebook. And then I also post it over on YouTube in case you're looking for it later. While you are finding me, I'm going to share this with my page in case somebody is looking for it there. So give me a second to do that. I am fully in fall mode in my craft room, although pretty soon I'm going to have to start some Christmas crafting too. All right, almost there. And then I'll get back where I was and we'll get started. So if you are new to my Facebook Live, I do this every Thursday at 3, usually. If something changes, I'll let you know, but usually I'm here every Thursday afternoon at 3. We make something fun, and then I give it away the next week. So last week we made this fun squirrel card. I forgot again what Kay called this fold. It was something I learned from her. But you have this little front flap fold, and then a full card underneath that. So I will tell you at the end who won that. I used this set. Let me grab it real quick. It's right here. This is Gathering Moments, and I used this in a class on Monday. So I'll show you the cards from that class after we're done. It has some really fun dies. So it has a bunch of dies that cut out the images, but then it has these 2 big fun dies, and I'll show you how I used those in class. I used them 2 different ways. So I'll show you those cards at the end. It also has this twine. So it's Early Espresso and Old Olive twine that come in this suite. And then the embellishments. Sorry, I've got everything kind of stacked over here to the side. These are Cajun Craze and Gold Dots. So they have some gold flecks in them. Let me take them out of the plastic. Maybe you can see it a little better. It's kind of hard to show the gold, but yeah, you can see it. They're really pretty too. So we'll use those on our card. All right, what else do I need to tell you? Oh, some other housekeeping. After the video is done on my blog, I will share all the measurements, so you don't need to worry about how to cut everything. I'll share the measurements on my blog afterwards. And I think that's it. Okay, let's get started. So you probably couldn't tell from the picture, but this is kind of a different card. So this is just a little flap on the front that opens, and then I'm going to take my little cheat sheet off. And then it's just a piece of cardstock for the base. Now, if you have a lot you want to write, you could put another piece of white on the back. But if you don't want to write a lot, then you can just sign your name and be done with it. So this is kind of fun. I'm using the Everyday Arches dies again. That's what I used on the squirrel card last week. And I just checked before I started this video, and they are available right now. So if you don't have these, I've put mine on a magnetic plate, a magnetics thing, because I use them so much. So they are available now. Get them if you don't have them. They are fabulous. I've used them so many times. For the flap, I am using the 4th largest one. And then the Designer Series paper that's inside there and the white that's on the inside is just the next size down. So if you want a bigger flap on yours, then just go up a size or smaller. And then your inside is just going to be the next size down. So let's cut this flap. I'm just going to move this so my die cut machine won't move around quite as much. But let's cut this little fun fold thing on the front. So I have a piece, again, all the measurements will be on my blog, of Early Espresso that I have already scored. So the trick to this is you want to be sure that you do not cut that score line. So you're going to put this just a little bit above the edge of your die Can you see that? A little bit above that score line, so it will not cut your score line. So let's see if I can get the top on there without moving it. All right, so then cut that. Come on. You've got 2 thicknesses of cardstock, so it is a little bit thicker. There we go. Oh, and I didn't have it all the way over there, so we'll see if it cut. Nope. Okay, we're gonna have to run it through again. I didn't notice that it wasn't quite all the way over, so it wasn't on that side. So let's try that again. Now we should have it cut. Now it's all cut. Okay, we're going to use that again for our acorn. I've already die cut the leaves, but we'll grab that back when we need it done. Okay. So now you take this out, and you have, it'll be kind of, because of the stitched edges, you'll have to kind of convince it to come apart, but it will. So now you have this nice flap, this nice arched flap. All right, and then I'm going to stamp everything, but I did die cut my leaves ahead of time just so you wouldn't have to watch me die cut all those. I'll die cut the acorn, but then it's the same as everything else. So let's grab. So this is, sorry, I usually try and show you crumb cake. And I'm going to stamp this leaf in that. And then pumpkin pie. I think I might need to re-ink this. You can tell it's kind of light in the center there. Oh no, that's pretty good. And then the biggest one is Cajun Craze. I'm going to turn it a little bit just to be sure there's space. That may be the one I should re-ink. So then you would take the dies that went with it and cut, and like I said, I've already done that. Then you end up with these leaves. And then I did the acorn in Early Espresso. So we'll die cut him. And then before I put my Early Espresso away, I have a piece of white that I die cut. So we will do our mini thanks. And I'll lose my acorn. So mini thanks. And then we'll grab our Cajun Craze again. So our Cajun Craze. Get a scratch. And we're going to stamp off. And just stamp that over it. So you don't want it to be too dark, even though the Early Espresso is pretty dark. You don't want it to compete with your sentiment there. All right, that is all of our stamping. I'm gonna just set all this to the side. Let's die cut our acorn real quick, and then we'll be ready to put it all together. So we'll grab our cut and emboss machine. And let me grab the die for the acorn. So you can see these are the other leaf ones that I used to die cut those leaves. And there's a mushroom too. But we're going to use the acorn. So I like to, when I'm cutting out something like this that I don't want it to move, I'll just take a piece of Post-it note tape. And that just kind of holds it in place while you're running it through. And now, let's get this back out of the way. Now we have our acorn. And then I save those Post-it note tape, and they can work several times before you have to get a new piece. All right, I'm just putting my die away so I don't lose it. So now we have all of our pieces, all of our leaves, and our acorn. We have our card base, and then our beautiful, this has gold foil on it. I didn't even show you the Designer Series paper, did I? It is so pretty. Showed you everything else in the suite and not this, which is probably the most beautiful part of it. So it has, on one side, it will have foil accents, and then the other side does not. And I've obviously been using this. Some gorgeous plaid. This is a basic beige, just a nice neutral. On the back, this is a basic beige background, whereas this one is a white. Look at that fun brown there. And it has a nice plaid. And then this one doesn't have the green in it. It just has basic beige, Cajun Craze, and Early Espresso. And then it has a nice neutral background. So gorgeous, gorgeous paper. We'll get that fixed later. Anything that has foil like that is just so pretty. So I've got that. I've got all my pieces for my flap. And underneath here that I just buried all the little pieces that go on top. So let's just put this together. I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal. Hopefully it won't run out. Because you can see when that orange shows up, it's almost out. And then this. I just loved this wood grain to add my leaves onto. So we'll put that on our flap. And it just kind of sits right inside the stitching of the flap. And then we'll put our white on the inside. And again, if you need more, if you want to write more, you can just put another piece of paper in there, but you can also put some white on the back of this to write on. And then we'll attach this to our card. And I just kind of put it in the middle. All right. We'll use liquid glue to attach these little leaves. And I kind of made them cascading. I started out with them like just in a fan, and I just didn't like that as well. You know, I started out with them just kind of fanned out like that, and I didn't like that. So I kind of just made them cascading down like this. So I'm going to just kind of lay them there, and I'll grab this one and put a little bit of glue on the end of it. And just tuck it there where I want it, maybe up a little bit. And then this guy. And usually I do leave the ends. These ones really aren't going to, sometimes when you die cut intricate leaves, then I like having the ends kind of free to float around, but these ones, it really doesn't matter because they're not going to really move much. Whoops. All right. Grab my glue dots. So I have 2 pieces of twine, a piece of the old olive and a piece of the early espresso that I've cut to the same length. So I'm going to try and get them somewhat even to start out, and I'm just going to tie a bow. So sometimes when we're doing linen thread, we do a double bow like this. Oh, hey, buddy. Sorry, I haven't been even paying attention to see if anybody's on or making comments. But because it's thinner, I sometimes use double to make a little bit bigger bow. And then we can trim those a little bit. Get our mess out of the way. And then I'll use a glue dot to put this on. And in this case, my glue dot is a little bit bigger. I don't know if you can see that, but you can just fold it down on itself. And then just put that at the top of your leaves. And then I used another glue dot for my acorn so that I could glue dot it to the ribbon. Like that. And that, oh, nope, that's not quite it. We have to add our bling. So our Cajun craze and gold dots. So there are 3 sizes to this, to these embellishments. And I usually do 3 embellishments. You do want to do an odd number. So you could do 3 or 5 or 7 if you wanted to use that many. I usually do 3. And now we're done. So there is our fun flap card. I don't know what you call this either, but anyway, somebody will win this next week. Let me show you the other cards that we made in class Monday night. So we did this one. This is one of those big leaf die cuts. And this embossing folder, I don't have it right here beside me, but that's also in that suite. It's just like leaves. Those little, well, you'll see it on a paper here in a minute. But that one, I just die cut the big leaf and then ran it through the embossing folder and some more of that gorgeous paper. Then this is like the squirrel card we made last week, but it's with this set. So just stamp some leaves on the front, some of the green twine. This is some more of that beautiful paper. This one, well, here, let me show you this one next. So this is what the embossing folder looks like, these little leaves like that. So this one is, I wanted to do something that wasn't necessarily just fall. So I could show that you could use this for things other than fall. And this is kind of fun. I made it open this way. So usually when you have a card that's scored, 4.5 by 11 or 4.25 by 11 and scored at 5.5, it goes this way. But I made this one go this way, just for fun. And that's embossing folder in the background there too. And then my favorite one, I got to combine both my craft making, my card making hobby and my cross stitch hobby. So this is one of the leaves. And if you remember, let me just show you. There is an outline die, but then there's also this die that just cuts holes in the leaf. Well, this is what you can do with that. So this is the early espresso twine that goes with this suite. And I just stitched veins in the leaf with it. Isn't that fun? There's that embossing folder again and some of the paper. And then I just put these in the mail today, but these are the thank you cards I sent to everyone that came to that class. And so the thank you is sideways intentionally. Sometimes we used to do that in scrapbooking too. You turn it sideways just for fun, just something different. So that's just a bonus one. I sent that out to everybody today. All right, so those are all the cards that we made in class Monday. And so let me tell you who won the squirrel card from last week. And that is Jackie. So I will get that sent to her. All right. I think that is it. Oh, one more thing. I didn't print it out. So silly me. I saved the picture on my phone, which is what I'm recording with. But there is a stamp sale and some tools that are on sale for 15% off today only. And I just put a flyer about it on my Facebook group and my Facebook page. But if you have any questions, just holler. But it's just for today. So if there's some stamps that you've been looking at, check out the tools in case there's some tools you don't have that you would like to have. That sale is just for today only. So, all right, I think that is it for today. Like I said, shortly after this video on my blog will be all the dimensions for this card. So if you want to create one like this, you'll have everything you need to do that. And if you don't have these dies, I would grab them now while they're available. I think they've been in and out several times because they are so popular and they're so versatile. All right. Thank you so much. And I will see you next week. Bye.